Hey everybody, I'm Stacy. I'm the owner and artist of New Creations by Stacy, and I'm an elite Dixie Belle retailer here in Ardmore, Alabama at the Rustic Willow. So if you guys are local, definitely come in and see us. I'm just going to give it a sec to make sure that we're live. If you guys are just popping on, just say hey, where you're watching from. We should have Dixie Belle live with us tonight as well. So I do see some people coming on. Perfect. Hey, April. So like I said, we should have Dixie Belle here with us tonight to help answer any questions. And just to give you a little information before we get started, in the description, I do have a product list of everything that we're going to be using tonight. I also have the link for the Chalk Mineral Paint Enthusiast group. If you're not on there, definitely like and follow that page. I also have the link to my page, so you can see more of my work. I go live at 5 on Fridays as well, so I do a lot of things on there. Hey, Wanda. I've been talking to her today. She's local. Hey, Amber, how are you? So I do have those two links on there, and then, I also have the affiliate link. So if you're not local, you can find your local retailer by clicking that link. And then also if you want to order any products that you see tonight online, that definitely doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps support us. So thank you so much. Oh, hey, I see Dixie Belle popping on. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. Hey, Thelma, she's local as well. So tonight we've got the 10 new silk colors launching, and those are amazing. So I wanted to go ahead. This isn't one of them, though. I don't have mine yet. Hopefully very soon. But I wanted to come on tonight and use some silk, kind of talk about the product. We're just going to do a simple update. And I was actually inspired on my live Friday night. I had Marianne on. I don't know if she'll be on tonight. Oh, hey, Lisa from San Diego. I don't know if she'll be on tonight, but I had some great questions. And I realized that I don't really use the brown wax a lot for a few different reasons. But I either usually mix it with black to make like a coffee bean, or my go-to is black wax. So I wanted to go ahead and use some brown wax tonight, which I don't normally do. And then also my goal this year is to use some colors that I haven't used before, and Hampton Olive is one of them. And I love it. I don't know why I haven't painted anything this color yet. Yes, I do too. Felipa said she loves silk, and it's amazing for a one color finish. I would, hands down, silk is awesome. It's got a built-in stain blocker as well as a built-in prime or a protectant. So it just saves you so many steps. It's also great for layering. You can add texture with it. I mean, just so many different things. But we'll kind of get into that. So like I said, we're going to do 3 different steps. So I've got this piece at a bunch of different stages. And just to let you know kind of what I've done so far, I did clean it, of course, with white lightning. That's always the first step, no matter what you're doing. You want to clean it with white lightning. It's a TSP formula. Actually, I've got some right here. I'll show it to you guys. It's a TSP formula, and it's specifically designed for prepping your piece for paint. It's really important. It's going to do a little deglossing, as well as it's going to get like all the grease, grime, all that good stuff off your piece. Make sure your piece is ready for paint. But it just comes in these little crystals. Mix it with water, and it lasts forever. I mean, you can make, I want to say it's maybe 16 gallons. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dixie Belle, but it makes a lot. It goes a long ways. And it's a really great price too, especially comparatively to other products like it. So prep this with white lightning, and since I'm using silk, I didn't have to worry about any bleed through, no boss or anything like that. So it was ready to paint. I did go ahead and add some Would You Bend on here. This bead trim was already on here, but there are some beaded trims from Would You Bend as well. Have I tried Crud Cutter? No, I haven't used Crud Cutter. I used to, prior to this, I used to use like a TSP I can't even remember what it was called, but it was like a pink liquid. But it's a lot more expensive than White Lightning. So definitely. And I actually looked at the price on Crud Cutter, and the White Lightning is only like $5.95 for the little bottle, and it makes so much. And I have great luck with it. So definitely that's why I choose to use White Lightning, but there are other options as well. So on this side is ready for wax. So we're going to go ahead and pull it around because we're going to do a little painting with it, with the silk first, so you can see those steps. And then we'll go ahead and do some wax and go from there. So this is silk in Hampton Olive. It's an all-in-one paint. Hey, Jackie. Like I said, it's an all-in-one paint. So I got to skip the, the blocking step. If you have a bleeder, your tannins can come through the paint. So like if you're using chalk mineral paint, you usually do want to use Boss if it's a bleeder. So with this paint, I'm going to go ahead and stir it really, really well. You want to make sure it's nice and mixed up because like I said, it does have that stain blocker as well as a protectant in it. So you want to make sure it's nice and mixed up. And even though I've not painted a piece of furniture in Hampton Olive, I've used it a lot. I've done some blending with it with salt water, and I've used it on smaller pieces as well, but I'm always blending it. So this is the first time that I've like really used the true, or seen the true color of it dry. And I really, really like it. So what I did was I'm just taking mine out and putting it in a little cup that we're going to use just because I don't want to put the spoon on something. I don't want to paint out of my jar. A lot of times you can get a lot of crusties around the lid and that'll give you kind of little globs in your paint. So I do definitely try to not paint out of my jars anymore. I used to all the time, but it's better that I don't. So when you're painting with silk, the recommendation is that you start with a dry brush. Yeah, I know me. I think it's going to definitely be one of my favorite colors too. But the recommendation is that you start with a dry brush. I like to start with it. I like to use a slightly damp brush, but that's because I like to work my paint a lot, and that's not necessary with silk. But it helps keep my silk movable, and you cannot use the mister bottle with silk because you'll have areas where it'll like grab and pull back. It's just a different composition than the chalk paint. But you will probably see me spray my brush throughout this process, which, like I said, is not really recommended, but for the way I paint, it works for me. Silk, you typically want to go in like long strokes, maybe only do a few passes, because it does, sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm getting all around my wood juban piece. But if it starts to dry, it dries from the top in. So if you get that skin on the top coat and you're still trying to work it, you will pull it back, and you definitely want a nice smooth finish. It is this, or well, that's what I'm going for in this case. But it is a self-leveling paint too. But I do like to use a synthetic brush. That's going to help decrease your brush strokes. And I'm actually using the round small brush. Actually, I'm going to grab my mister bottle because like I said, I do miss my brush. Because I work my paint a lot. I'm a thin painter. I don't use a lot of paint, and I like to spread it. I like to spread it out. I'm very careful though not to get a lot of water on my brush. I just like it to be damp. You can also, if you don't spray your brush, you can also help keep your brush wet by just keeping it wet with the paint itself. I'm just going to get under here right quick because at certain angles you can kind of see this wood part. So I just want to make sure I have some coverage on there. I want to be careful not to move up too much because that outer skin that I was talking about is drying. So we're going to go ahead and just finish painting this side here. And then we're going to, I mean, it's very straightforward. So once we finish painting this, we're going to go ahead and switch around to the other side, and we'll start doing some of the finishing details. So on the other side too, I did, so you can see, I personally use very little paint. I'm painting legs, so I'm just kind of getting the paint off my brush, and then I'm spreading it out. And this is a perfect brush when you have thin legs or round legs, particularly to paint. The brushes hold a lot of paint, so much more than you realize. So using a large brush on here, I would really have way too much paint on my brush for me. But again, I'm not a super thick painter. I just want to make sure you guys can see. And so like I said, silk does have 2 coats of protectant in it. So you can actually go right over it with the wax. With the silk though, I do like to add 1 additional coat of protectant. And also if you want to change the sheen, you can add a coat of protectant. Silk isn't quite like as matte of a finish as you would see like with the chalk mineral paint. But let me spin you guys a little bit so you can see this leg that I'm doing here. Yeah, there we go. It's not quite as matte of a finish, but it's not a satiny finish either. So if you want a different sheen, you can protect over it. Say you wanted gloss or something like that. Or even if you wanted it to be really flat, you could go over it with flat, and that will kind of change it out as well. Like I said, I'm going crossways just to get the paint out of my brush. And then I'm just feathering it out so that I can have a nice smooth finish. And you can use silk in a sprayer as well. If your silk is very thick and you need to add water to it, you can add, I think it is up to 10% water, but you want to put it in the paint first and stir it up. It will not go on properly if you use the mister and add it as you're putting it on. And you'll notice when I'm dampening my brush, you know, the biggest thing is just not putting very much paint on your brush. These brushes hold so much paint. And, you know, it dries very quickly. So it's easy to not really have time to spread that paint out. And I think that's where a lot of people end up being kind of a heavy painter or more heavy-handed. I've always been really light-handed. It's actually hard for me to paint super heavy. Like, you'll see people on the lives, and I see them go over their paint, you know, maybe like 2 strokes, and I'm like, wow, I always have to really thin mine. I like to move my paint around a lot. And that's something that you don't really want to do as much with silk, and that's why I missed my brush. But like I said, it's not really the recommendation, but you can do it. You just don't want to overwork your silk. But I mean, let's go ahead and do actually these little spots right here. Silk's super easy to use. I feel like you guys probably just don't want to watch me paint one color this whole time. If you're new to painting, silk is a great option, I think. You do want to scuff sand, and I forgot to mention that, but I did scuff sand before I started this piece. And then just make sure that you get, once you do the scuff sand, just make sure that you go over it with like a tack cloth or something like that, and you're able to get off, you know, any dust particles or anything that over time would cause your paint to have an issue with sticking. But it does dry pretty quickly. One thing though, you don't want to try to use, silk doesn't do very well trying to speed up the drying process with the heat gun. But I did this pretty quick today, and I did put a fan on it so that I could make sure it was nice and dry for my next steps. But that's it. That's just, I mean, it's super easy to apply the silk. I've actually got a few more minutes. I'm going to do just this top portion over here. And then all I have left to do is this one bottom section. And the reason I wanted to do this, like I said, long strokes with silk. I'm going to make sure I get into this little crevice here. You don't want to go over it too many times. Like if my silk was drying too much right there, then I would have ended up getting a drag mark. So you want to be careful as far as that's concerned. And I've got my beads pretty well covered in there. So that's it as far as using silk goes. And by the way, you guys, if I happen to miss any questions, and you're welcome to ask anything, it doesn't have to pertain to this. But if I miss any questions, I will definitely go back and answer them after the live is over. Just doing a quick scroll through to make sure. Hey, Cheryl. All right. I don't think I missed anything. Let me roll you back up there. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to come around to this other side. So this is still drying, so it does look, you know, silk is going to dry a little bit darker than when you first put it on. And I'm actually looking to see which side. It's this side over here that I've got protected. Yeah, I just had to make sure because, you know, you can tell the sheen is, it has a really nice sheen on its own. So I couldn't even really tell too much where I put the satin. But we are going to go ahead and do some waxing on it as well. And we're going to use the brown Gilding Wax. And like I said, I usually shy away from brown, to be honest. Because on certain colors, it kind of has a, to me, it kind of has like a little of a reddish undertone when you're going on like whites or some of the light blues like Savannah Mist. So I usually mix it with black so that I can make like a coffee bean color. And you guys, you can make any color wax you want. So like with the clear wax, you can just add a little tiny dab of paint into it, mix it up, and you can have blue wax or, you know, whatever you want. And I love the wax for accentuating these highlights, grooves, just adds a lot of dimension to your piece. I'm going to be staining the top of this too. I just stripped it yesterday and I've still got some sanding to do on it. But we're going to be using the brown Gilding Wax. And we have a couple wax brushes that you can use as well. So if I was going to do an all over wax, I would probably, this is my favorite, the La Petite. And I don't wash my wax brushes, but again, black's my go-to, so this one had black on it. And then we also, if you're doing an all-over wax, this one has grunge gray on it, you can use the Gilding Wax brush. Since I'm only wanting to really do the highlights, and by the way, you can also use a French tip brush. These are all natural bristle brushes. They do have, I think, another type of fiber in there as well, but they're natural bristle brushes. I'm just going to be doing some highlights in strategic areas, and then I'll do this one probably all over. So I'm going to end up using, actually I want to use this art brush instead of my Best Dang Wax brush, just because I don't want to wash out the Best Dang Wax, or not Best Dang Wax, sorry, French tip. That one's a relatively new one, and I just don't want to wash it out. I don't like washing my wax brushes. So I'm just going to put a little bit of wax on here, kind of wiped a little bit off. And in here, I'm just going to start rubbing this in. Around here, I just want to make sure that I get into all the grooves. So that I can really get that dimension going on. And oh my gosh, see, I'm so glad that I had these questions on the live Friday, because I really am loving this brown wax. I've got to branch out a little bit more. I'm loving this brown wax over the Hampton Olive. You know, I love colors. Every time I try, there's a piece back here, every time I try to paint something white, it ends up turning into a color. I just mixed up that green color. All right, so now I'm going to use my little tiny pointed one, because actually, you know what? I'm not. I am liking how this is going. I think I'm going to stick with this. I just want to get it really well into all these details, all these grooves. I just want to make sure you guys can see here. Yeah, I'm loving this. And this is a very classic update. It's, make sure I can get it over in here. So I will say another thing too. I coated this with satin, and you don't have to do this, but if you don't coat it with satin, you will not have as much control when you're wiping back. I want to make sure I get into this groove really well, but you won't have as much control when you're wiping back directly over silk, but you do have quite a bit of control still, much more than the chalk mineral paint that's really porous. Yeah, actually I like this. So now, once I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and, me too. I hope Marianne watches this on a replay if she's not on here. And Jennifer was another one. They both, the questions they asked really made me think about kind of why I do some of the things I do. And I've just gotten so accustomed to using black wax or to mixing my brown wax that I just always grab that. That's like my go-to. And, you know, people talk about, you know, being inspired by the lives and stuff like that, but I'm just as inspired by people. Oh, hey, Marianne. And the jar, it does not look very green to me as it does now. You know what? I thought the same thing. And like I said, I've blended with Hampton Olive and everything like that. And I felt the same way about it. And then when I put it on by itself, not doing any layering, just one solid color, I'm loving the color. It seems so much more green than it does. I thought it was a lot more muted, kind of like the brown tones under it. But like I said, I'm just as inspired by people watching and asking questions and seeing other people's work, like what you guys are working on and stuff like that. It's just really nice to have that community, you know, that creative community. So I'm just wiping a lot of this back. It's really staying in all the recesses. I do still have some like tinting a little bit here, and it's gorgeous. And actually, I might do, on second thought, I really might do an all-over wax on this. I'm really loving the brown. I'm loving how it's turning out. I mean, it's got a lot of, I mean, it just really brings out this wood you bend. Let me bring you guys in a little bit so you can see this. Then I'll pop you back. We'll wax this whole side because I think I am going to do an all over wax. And then we're going to come in. We're just going to highlight these beads in this wood you bend. But can you guys see like how much that brings out, how much depth that adds? Let me roll you around. See like the beading here? I know, I love this combo. And you're the one who inspired it. It does. That's a good way to put it, Debbie. It does. It makes it look so rich. So I'm really, really loving that. All right, so I'm going to pop you guys back. We're going to do a little bit more on the bottom here. And then we will, yes, it does, Dixie Bow. I love this. All right, so let's come down here. And yeah, I'm going to just do an all over wax. I love how this is looking. So we're just going to smear this on. So when I do the all over wax, this piece does have some, like a couple dings and stuff like that on it. So this wax is going to sink right into that. So I'm going to use my little pointy brush here because I've got this groove. And I want that brown wax to be nice and thick and really highlight that grooved line. So I'm going to make sure that I get in there really well. And let's go ahead and do this side too. So like I said, it's not a huge difference with this extra coat of protectant, but there is a slight difference in the ability to wipe it back. But also, I sell furniture, so if this was staying at home, I probably wouldn't add this extra coat of satin on it. But I want to make sure that anything that's going out to one of my customers is well protected and that it's going to hold up for them. So that's one of the reasons I add it. But you know, with 2 coats of this paint, it's equivalent to 2 coats of a protectant. So that I only do 1 over this. Over the CMP, I do 3 coats of protectant as well. So it does make a difference. We've got some time. I'm going to go ahead and do this whole side. We're going to see what this looks like. And all this brown is just going to go into those cracks and crevices. Might leave it a little bit darker at the bottom maybe. Well, that was a lot I put on. A lot of times I wipe, if I don't want it this thick and I am doing an all over wax, a lot of times I'll put the wax on my brush and then I will go back through and kind of wipe it off on the lid. You can see where I do that with my lid. Or even a paper plate. Sometimes I use a paper plate. But I just really want this. Let me spin you guys so you can see what I'm doing here. And like I said, this is a self-leveling paint, so I don't have a lot of brush strokes. But if you were doing something where you had a lot of brush strokes, this would kind of really sink into those grooves. And I'm lightly wiping this back. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but there is still a difference. It probably looks like I'm wiping it all off, but I'm not. It's still got I'm not using a lot of pressure. If I really wanted to take it off, like say on a high point up here, I just put a little more pressure on it and that would take it down. I'm just putting this all over so I can really hit those dings. And I'm just not going to put too much on here. Actually, I do want this. So let's say I let it set for too long and I can't quite buff it all out to wipe it back. I can use a clear coat and I can erase some of that back. So I want it kind of soft. I really want that indent right down here. Let me turn it. This indent right down here accentuated. So I'm going to go pretty light. And I want it to feather out kind of soft. And actually I wiped a little bit too much back. So what you can do, if you do something like that, so these are some premium chip brushes, or actually no, sorry, these are the regular chip brushes. Regular chip brush. As they get worn, instead of throwing them away, you can cut them off. It makes them really pretty stiff. And you can come into those cracks and you can just lightly work that out and kind of feather it out so you have a nice soft transition there in your corners as well. So I'm just going to wipe a little bit more out of here. Oops. Kind of got a little bit more than I wanted to on that spot, but that's okay because this is a highlighted portion. That's a higher area. So it would be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to leave this though the way it is. I'll try to bring you guys in for a close-up. I'm not sure how well you can see that there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this back here. And on this side, I don't need to feather it out because I didn't accidentally wipe too much off there. I was able to get that little transition. And it's very subtle. Very, very subtle. And by the way, this is a water-based wax, but you know, you don't want to put paint over this. So I do want to let you guys know on the other side of everywhere that I'm doing, I have already fully painted and protected. But I wanted to do this in pieces so you could kind of see all of the steps. And just going to go down. I didn't put the wax on the outside of here, but I'm going to go ahead. I got a little bit. I'm going to fully wipe that off because I will do that later in the look that I want. Let's roll you around some. And I'm going to go ahead and I wiped a little bit more back, but I've got quite a bit of the dark in there. So I'm going to go ahead and take my premium cutoff chip brush there. And I'm going to go ahead and feather that out a little bit too. So I have a nice soft transition instead of kind of that pinstriped hard line. So that's it as far as the wax is concerned. It's really bringing this together. I love it over this Hampton Olive. So we've got a few more minutes, and I do want to put some gilding wax on the higher areas to really give them a nice highlight and make it pop even more. And I'm a little undecided, so I've got a few of them out here, and we're probably actually going to do both options and then see what I like best. And with the gilding wax, it's oil-based. And by the way, normally, if this wasn't alive, I would let my wax set up, my besting wax set up, and then I would put the gilding wax on. So a few hours and then put the gilding wax on. But, yeah, I know. It needed something in there. I mean, it was just like that flat indent, and I felt like this woodgie bend was the perfect thing to stick in here. And it just really gives it a lot more character than it originally had, I feel like. So I'm going to do kind of two highlights with the gilding wax. And I know I'm probably going to go with gold. But I'm a little bit undecided if I want to do copper, which copper I rarely use. You know, I kind of go through phases. And I rarely use copper. But I just, oh, and by the way, the copper patina that we did a week or two ago, it is posted on my page. And I have another reveal with our start to finish nightstands as well. But that's the copper here. And then I don't know if I want to do copper or bronze. So you guys tell me what you think on here. Like the copper or the bronze is what I will do initially, and then I'll probably do an extra highlight with the gold. And that just, ooh, the copper, yes. Oh yeah, Marianne. So this is the bronze here. Okay, Thelma says copper too, so Almost everybody's saying copper. I think that's what we're going to go with. That's kind of what I had in my head too, but again, you can tell what my go-to is. And you see, I'm so glad I went out of my box today. Yeah, I'll do the bronze on this side maybe and the copper over here. And you can wipe this back with mineral spirits. By the way, mineral spirits will completely take off best dang wax too whenever it's still like this. Just a little FYI. So here's that, well, you can really see what my go-to is there. It's gold. So you can apply the gilding wax with your finger, or you can use a brush. I'm going to use my finger. I just want to do some highlights here. So let's go ahead and just kind of pop this on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I think it's going to be copper. Hold on, let me see if I can, let me bring you guys in so you can really, really see. Whoops, I don't want to knock over my paint. Give me just a sec. I'm kind of dangerous. All right, there we go. So you're really, really close up. Don't pay attention to the top. I haven't really done anything with that yet. So let's see here. I want to go a little bit heavier with this lower color, but I don't want to get it into the grooves because I want to have that dark wax in there. So it's kind of like, ooh, yeah, I love this. Okay, so let's go with let's put the bronze on over here. When we do this one right here, we'll go with whatever color we decide to choose. Oh yeah, copper. I think it's copper. Tell me what you guys think, but I definitely think it's copper. This is a metallic. This bronze is. So it creates a different look a little bit than the best dang wax, but it doesn't pop against the green like the copper does. And copper always goes well with green. It's just that complementary thing. So Wanda says copper too. I definitely agree. We'll give it a sec, but see if anybody else wants to weigh in. Yeah, it does kind of, that's it. It kind of fades in. And bronze is usually my go-to. So I'm going to put, actually, let's go ahead. And I just used a baby wipe to wipe it off my fingers. You can use like an alcohol wipe or anything like that. Let's go ahead and put a little bit of gold over it. You know what? I'm going to tell you. Tell me what you guys think. Hopefully you can really, really see it. But I don't even think I like the gold on here. I think I like it with only copper. And I'm a layering person. I love layers. Yeah, no. I think I like copper, only copper. Right, get out of that gold. I think you're absolutely right. Let's put it over here. I'm going to wipe this off, you guys. Ugh, I don't like that at all, really. Not at all. I love to experiment, though, and just see. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree, Wanda. I love the copper. It's perfect with this Hampton olive. You know what? This is still pretty wet. Let me see if I can just, yes. Let me see what I can do over here. Kind of buff this off, and we'll just stick the copper over it. Yeah. I did not get out my mineral spirits. Actually, you guys, let me grab the mineral spirits right quick, and we're going to finish this up with copper. But I definitely want to get this off because I do not, I think you guys are so right. The copper looks the best. And you know, I really like to experiment on the lives too because obviously, I have all the products. I'm a retailer. But you like the golds, really, Thelma? You like the golds better? Oh, maybe I might have to go back and do some gold. I don't know. What are all the votes here? Let me see. Okay, wait. Dixie Val, you said you agree with the copper or the gold or to get... Oh, yeah, it's too bright. Right. Okay, so yeah, copper it is. Perfect. All right. Just wanted to make sure I was getting it. I think we're all on the same page here. So let's go ahead. So this is Mineral Spirits. I just put a little bit on a paper towel, and you can see it's taken that bronze right off. I already was able to rub the gold off for the most part. Put a little bit more up there. You know what? You can also thin these gilding waxes too. Just a little side note. You can thin them if with the Mineral Spirits, and you can create a really cool look that way too. So let me kind of dry. I just want to dry that off. Let's go ahead and we're going to put the lids on the gold, the lid on the bronze, and let's go ahead and just highlight everything with the copper. All right. But it's really kind of nice to be able to see all the experimentation and decide what products you want to go with for what you're doing. But this is a super classic, easy update. And let's go ahead and just do some highlights over here. So another thing about the gilding wax. So it goes on super, really super metallic, but like the next day it can dull out slightly. So you want to give it maybe about 12 hours. And if you want it to be more shiny, and I don't always buff, it depends on the look I'm going for, but you can buff it and kind of bring that shine back to it the next day as well, usually about 12 to 24 hours. But yeah, this is gorgeous. I'm loving this. So what do you guys think color-wise for the stain on the top? Because I thought I knew what I was going with, but maybe I don't now. Thanks, Julie. Oh, hey, Julie. I never see you on. I'm so happy to see you. All right. I know you're always on. I just never get to see the comment until after the live. I don't know why I always miss yours. All right. So just very light. I'm kind of off to the side. Let me see if I can get in front of it. Kind of see what we're doing here. Yep. So I love how that looks. Yeah, it did. It really did it. So does anybody have any thoughts on the stain color? What I should do at the top here? Kind of liking this natural look a little bit. Oh, thanks, Julie. You're so sweet. All right. So, oh yeah, I'm loving it. It just gives it so much depth with that brown wax. Thank you, Marianne, for, and if Jennifer's on, thank you too for the question. I actually have Tobacco Road out, Thelma. I'm big into layering with the Voodoo Gel stains. I love to create different looks, but I was thinking I might just go with Tobacco Road on the top. Yeah, I like the natural too. So I think we're gonna probably go with Tobacco Road and see what that looks like. But I'll be revealing, well, actually I have several pieces that I have staged and I need to post. I try to only post one a day. Hopefully I'll get one tonight. I've got 3 lives on the one that I already have staged tonight, and I plan on posting. So I just need to get those together before I post. I might do it tonight or I'll do it tomorrow. But this one, I'll reveal it pretty quick. It's a quick project, super easy. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. And please share this video, sprinkle it around if you know anybody who could use it. This is great for furniture. First-time furniture painters, I feel like. And don't forget the 10 new silk colors. They're available for pre-order now, and they will be in stores soon. So check those out. It's the desert theme. They're awesome. Can't wait. I've already got a piece prepped to paint with Morning Sunrise. And the Buds and Branches transfer, I think. Once I get it in my hands, I'll know for sure. But again, thank you guys so much. I digress quickly when we're talking about paint. But thank you so much. Please like and follow me on Facebook as well. I've got my link there. Oh, thank you, Marianne. Like I said, you were the inspiration for this, so that's awesome. Thank you, Dixie Belle, for everything. And you guys take care. Have an awesome night. And I will be live Friday on my page at 5 as usual. Take care.